Hi, good afternoon. My name is Dawn, and I'm going to give participants just another minute or two to join the webinar, and then I'll formally introduce myself, do a very short presentation, and then take your questions. We'll give folks about 2 minutes.
Magnets broken.
No, like a few hours ago.
Yeah. Oh, so,
Hi, good afternoon, Eastern Standard Time. My name is Dawn Bond. I am the Director of Operational Services, and my team and I have the pleasure and opportunity to move your student in every fall. So we have a number of staff behind the scenes answering questions. And so you can put your questions in the Q&A and they will answer your questions. I'm going to do a very brief presentation. This whole presentation is on our website and you can view it at your leisure at another time. I'm not going to stop on every slide. And I just wanted to do a quick orientation of some important information. First off, your student will find out in less than a week now where they'll be living for the academic year. So on Monday, August 3rd, in the housing portal, students will be able to view their assignment with hall and room information as well as roommate information. A week later, we will launch move-in reservation. Every student who is being moved in at UMass completes a move-in reservation, regardless of the type of move-in or the day that you're coming. Every student does a move-in reservation. Those will start on Monday, August 10th. We do not have everybody start at the same time on Monday, August 10th. We crashed the portal a couple of times when we first started using move-in reservation. And so throughout that first day, buildings will come on every hour starting at 9 a.m. That schedule is on our website. Today, I'm going to spend primarily my presentation time talking about move-in day 1 and 2. That is when we move in all of our new first-year students and transfer students. And then if there's specific questions about other types of move-ins and move-in days, we certainly can get to those when we get to the Q&A portion. So there are 3 types of move-in on move-in days 1, 2, and 3. If you come between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m., it is an assisted move-in. We assist you in getting moved in. And there are 2 types of movers that work our program. The first is pictured here. Our minute mover teams are our students who help the family unload the car and move the belongings into the room. And that is a group effort. Everybody participates except for the driver of the car. The driver of the car will move the car as soon as it's unloaded. And we will use as many of these laundry bins as it takes to unload that car as quickly as possible. As soon as the car's moved out, another car will be called in. We also use a professional moving company to do our more challenging areas on campus. And so all of Honors College, Sylvan residential area, and our Southwest Towers are moved in by the professional moving company pictured here in the middle. And they do all of the moving of the belongings out of the car. In fact, the family stays in the car and the movers unpack everything into their cardboard bins. And then we maintain chain of custody. The belongings are tagged and with the student's last name and room number, and we bring them into the residence hall. It's up the elevators and into the student room. And in 8% of the time, by the time the whole family walks back from the parking lot, the belongings are waiting in the room to be unpacked and the room set up. And then there's also unassisted move-in. This is a great picture of a family who signed out a bin and loaded up their bin with the belongings in the car, and they're moving themselves in. No assistance on unassisted move-in times. There will be a boarding pass. It will look different from what you're seeing here, so we're not going to spend any time on that. But this year, we are in a new housing portal, and so the format of the boarding pass is a little bit different, but it is still something that we expect your student to print and bring with them so that we can scan it in the two check-in locations on day 1, day 2, and day 3. We've got some great resources on what to bring on our website. I wanted to highlight a couple of vendors that we have a relationship with. One of them is the microfridge. That is a refrigerator, freezer, and microwave unit all in one. The deadline to order a microfridge and have it guaranteed to be in the room waiting for your student is August 1st. There's also a luggage program that we sponsor where we will receive packages from out-of-state and international students at our distribution center. And then we also make every effort to get those boxes into the student room before they arrive. We will hold a large tag sale Saturday of Labor Day weekend. Our new to you tag sale is made up of items that other students donated last year, mostly when they were moving out and they weren't fitting back in the car. And so lots of great stuff at our new to you tag sale. So check that out. There's also a fairly extensive list of things on that are just reminders about things that you might want to consider for your student as they're beginning to pack and get ready to move in. One of the things that you'll probably purchase, and it's not because we don't have wonderful mattresses, it's just that people like the extra softness of these mattress toppers. And so what happens though at move out is lots of these mattress toppers end up in the trash stream because they're really hard to put back into a Ziploc, into a bag. And so we actually used a zip bag here where you suck all the air out of it. And that's what we're going to recommend for the mattress toppers so that this can last all 4 years that your student is a student here and they don't end up in the trash stream. We have a 1-car rule here at UMass. We will unpack all the belongings in 1 car. 1 car will be allowed to the unload zone. There are plenty of reasons why you might bring a 2nd car. However, the 2nd car will not make it to the unload zone for the building. That 2nd car will be directed to an adjacent parking lot for each residence hall. We have that pre-identified on our website. All of our driving directions and traffic directions are outlined on our website and are great resources for those that are going to be driving to campus. I would encourage you to orient yourself a little bit about your traffic pattern, depending on where your student ends up being assigned for the year. If you do bring 2 cars, this family did, and they didn't get the 1-car rule. And so they have belongings in both cars. And so what they've done here is they're behind the football stadium, West Check-in, and they're resituating. There are places on both sides of campus where we check students in where a family could pull off and kind of resituate. So again, we will not allow a 2nd car up to the residence hall to be unloaded. And so you primarily put people in the 2nd car, or maybe do like this family. They put some really light stuff in the 2nd car and they're walking that in from the parking lot. This is a Southwest family. That's a tower right there. And so they've walked up from lot 22 with the light, soft things. It's important to note that on the day that we're moving a building in, the elevators will not be available for pedestrian traffic unless, of course, there's a medical or disability reason to use the elevator, which, of course, we would fit someone in and get them to where they need to go. But there is a lot of stair walking on move-in days when the building is being moved in. And it's also important to note that even if the building has an elevator, you might not be using the elevator because the push pattern for your student's room may warrant the belongings being pushed to the closest stairwell and carried up. We operate a shuttle all 3 days to take students from the Brommery Center for the Arts or pick them up from the UMass Hotel. And so if your student is flying in or taking an Uber or a Lyft to campus as their mode of transportation, Peter Pan bus stop is at Brommery, then we will take your student the last mile in our check-in shuttle and take them through the queue, which I'm going to describe in a moment on both sides. These are very specific directions for different populations, people who are here for summer housing. There will also be a day where we move our early arrivals in. International students, most new international students will move in as early arrivals on Monday, August 31st. But what I'd like to spend a little bit of time on, and then we'll go to questions, is how each check-in works on either side. The East check-in happens out on the northeastern corner of our campus in a very large parking lot called Lot 44. North residential area and Sylvan are the two residential areas that it's tucked behind. Families coming in for East check-in will be checking into halls that are either in Northeast, North Apartments, Sylvan, Orchard Hill, or Central. And they will come in from the north end of Amherst and enter on North Pleasant onto North Drive. We do not take traffic down the center of our campus on move-in days. We would bottleneck and have traffic jams really everywhere. And so for the East check-in, you come in, it doesn't feel as intuitive. You come in from the north and enter onto North Drive. The first stop on the east side is your students getting their key issued to them. We will scan that boarding pass that I spoke about just a moment ago and issue the student their key. This is also where we'll put placards on the windshield to identify for our UMPD officers which hall you're being directed to and where you're going. We also will placard second cars if there is a second car. The second car should follow the primary car through the check-in process. On the east side, the next thing that you'll experience is our awesome dining partners who are out there with us every single day, and they will give you a snack bag for the car. And then lastly is the car call up, and that's where we hold cars until a spot is ready for the car to be called to the residence hall to get unloaded. Depending on the day and what buildings we're moving in, you will leave the East check-in location either from behind Sylvan or through the North Thatcher Street. And so again, it's important for you to orient yourself a little bit on the traffic pattern for the day that your student is being moved in on, so that you're familiar and comfortable with where you're going to be going. On the east side of campus, we do have families park a little bit further away than really anywhere else. And so we also run a East check-in shuttle. It won't look like this. We have a new van this year, but it'll be identifiable. And that East check-in shuttle will pick you up. The two parking lots are a little bit down on Governor's Drive. And so the shuttle will pick up families or drop them off at the parking location and then do two stops, one outside of Northeast by Topman and Northeast residential area, and then another stop up at Cash and Hall in the Sylvan residential area. And it'll go up and loop back around and come back down. And we operate that shuttle, that East check-in shuttle, all day, all 3 days. On the west side of campus, for students living in Southwest or Honors College, you will be checked in behind the football stadium, and you'll come in off of 116 onto Mass Ave and then onto Stadium Drive. On this side of campus, our dining partners are the first stop. It was just the better place to put them, given the geography of this area. And then the second stop is right behind the football stadium, McGurk Alumni Stadium, and that's where the student will get their key and the car or cars will be placarded. And then lastly, just like on east side, the car call up will happen and cars will only be called forward if there's a spot to unload them. And then they all leave out the same way out of what is called Dallas Mall onto University Drive, and will either go to Southwest residential area or Honors College. There's a great video here if you'd like to watch it from start to finish of a car entering the East check-in and going through all the steps right to the point where they pull up in front of the residence hall. Your student is going to know their roommate information on August 3rd. And so that's a great time to get in touch with the new roommate or roommates and talk about how the room's going to get set up. We do have lofting materials to bunk beds or loft beds. You can see in this picture, these two students agreed to bunk their beds. If you do end up changing the configuration of the furniture in the room, it's really important that you look up and identify where the sprinkler heads are. Every single residence hall room on our campus has a sprinkler head in it, which is excellent from a fire safety point of view, but they are highly sensitive. And even the slightest little tap, especially if it's the end of a bed, like this wooden piece of bed end right here, if that hits the sprinkler head, it is going to activate it and it is going to flood the room, and everything in the room will be covered in water. And so lofting materials and bunking materials are located in each residence hall, and the list for where in the residence hall is also on our website. If for any reason you arrive and there is a maintenance problem in the room that isn't considered an emergency maintenance, I'm going to talk about that in a moment, then please put in a service request, and we have staff here, extended staff, working throughout move-in week to respond to any maintenance needs in the room. Hopefully that won't be the case, but that is an online service request. If there is something that's more urgent, then we do also have a 24/7, 365 days a year emergency maintenance call center called the Facility Service Center, and that phone number your student should put in their phone. And what we consider emergencies are anything that are building or life safety issues. And so anything that's running water, heat's not working, lock mechanisms not working, card access readers not working, broken glass, a shower that's not operating, a toilet that's not flushing properly. All of those things would be considered emergency maintenance, and we would dispatch a resolution to that call. Also 24/7, 365 days a year, we have staff on campus to go to problems of that nature. There are 8 residential service desks on our campus, and we are here to provide support for students living in the residence halls as it's related to mail and packages. It's also where your student would go if they misplace their key to get a backup key. We also can issue a temp card for card access reasons. All of our residence halls are locked 24/7, and so if a student misplaces or loses their U card, it's important that they go to their service desk to get a temp card so they're not locked out of their building. And the primary reason most students go to their residential service desk on a regular basis is because this is where students go to pick up packages. This year, new for the first time, we are introducing Amazon package lockers. There are 6 banks of lockers on our campus, 1 in each of the residential areas, and students will be able to use that as an Amazon distribution area. They would choose the locker that's closest to them or available for their item, and those packages don't go to the residential service desk. Speaking of packages, this is what a real mailroom looks like in one of our service desks. The first couple of weeks of the semester, we can experience pretty heavy package load. And so if there's any opportunity to not send something and you could wait a little longer, please do so. It's important if you have a medication that you take regularly, that you bring at least a 30-day prescription for that, so something important like that doesn't get caught up in the package queue. And then there are some regulations around what we will receive and not receive. That is outlined on our website. We processed over 300,000 packages last year for our residential students. And then that's our contact information. And if we don't answer your question today in the remainder of this webinar, or if something comes to you after the webinar is over, please email us or call us. We are staffed from 9 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Monday through Friday, and we would be happy to help. So I'm going to go to questions and see if anybody on my team has maybe a theme or a question that's been asked a few times that it would benefit the whole participant group to hear the answer.
So Don, right now there are no open questions. Folks can put them in the Q&A. Oh, here comes one. Where can I view the move-in video that has been mentioned?
It's on our website. You'll go to Hall Openings and Closings and choose the tab or the link for Fall Move-In. And all the materials that I've talked about here will be on that part of the website. There's a video for both West and East check-in, correct, Sarah, on the website? We just have the one for East check-in in the presentation.
That's correct.
Excellent. That's the same place too. You'll find directions for the day. We are also very specific about how we would like for you to come to campus, no matter what direction you're coming from, east, west, north, or south, because we don't, again, want to create traffic jams on our campus before you even get to the check-in locations. And so those directions are outlined on our website, as well as directions from the check-in location to the hall, and then once the car is unloaded, the directions from that hall to the parking locations. Second car parking directions are also on our website. So lots and lots of resources and information on our website. Any other questions? Let's see what's in the Q&A. What halls move in which days? We can put the link to that, I think, in the chat. Someone from my team can put the link for that. We will have all first-year students moved in by the end of day 2, all transfers as well, end of day 2. We do move some buildings in on day 1 and different buildings in on day 2, or if it's a particularly large building, they may be moving in on both days. Roommate information is not given differently in the housing portal, whether your student's in a wrap or not. We actually don't allow third-party deliveries for the luggage program. So the packages that we receive, there is criteria for how to address that and weight and size. And so the luggage program information is also on the website under the tab called What to Bring.
Don, there's a question if there is a fee for the movers.
No fees, no fees. Our wonderful UMass students come back early and move in most of our buildings, and then the professional moving company that we utilize, we pay for them to move the trickier buildings in. We also get asked sometimes about this, and Sarah didn't ask, but I'm going to answer it anyhow, about tipping. We don't need you to tip the movers. We appreciate that you might think about doing that, but we are excited to just move you in, and it's part of what we do, and you don't have to tip.
So Don, there's a question about what if my student can't arrive on their assigned day and they want to come on a different day? Is the process going to look the same?
It's a great question. It likely will not look the same unless the building is moving in over 2 days. So, but again, most buildings are moved in one single day. So if your student cannot come on the day that we've designated, then they will select what is called an unassisted move-in. And there are options in the evenings, each of the days, day 1, day 2, and day 3, as well as options for all of Labor Day weekend, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday of Labor Day weekend. And that would be considered an unassisted move-in, and that the student would go first to their residential service desk to be issued their key, and then and possibly sign out a bin. If there isn't an elevator in the building, the bin doesn't help you. We use the bins during our process because it helps us unload cars faster, but unless your building has an elevator, it doesn't make sense to sign out a bin. But if your building does, then please do so. They get that at the service desk as well, and then you will unload yourself and move yourself in. That information will be available when your student goes to make their move-in reservation.
Now the question about early arrival and if they can use elevators during early arrival days or day.
Yes, elevators will be available during early arrival day and will not be offline by the moving process. That they're offline days 1, 2, and 3. There can sometimes be quite a wait for an elevator, and so you may want to think about how high up you're willing to walk stairs. For example, in a tower, of course, you're going to take the elevator up to the top floors, but if you're on the 2nd or 3rd floor, it might be less time consuming to just walk belongings in a couple of flights of stairs.
Someone is asking about what's not allowed in the room. Do you want to talk a little bit about room setup?
Sure. So on the What to Bring page on our website, I'll scroll backwards here. On the What to Bring section of our website, there's a link there about prohibited items. And so prohibited items are usually life safety items, like weapons or fireworks or things like that. And so you'll want to have your student and you take a look at the prohibited items. I saw there was also something about how you could hang things. There are recommendations on the website as well about, depending on the residential area, what is the best way to hang things in the room. So the residential policies outline the prohibited items from residence halls. They're things that usually cause risk, mostly fire, but not exclusively.
How about lofting kits?
Lofting kits are available in each of the residence halls, and the list of where those items are stored can be found on the website. If you are planning to loft or raise the bed, bunk the beds possibly, then you will want to bring a rubber mallet. We do have rubber mallets on campus, but sometimes the wait time on the rubber mallet can be long, and so it may just be worth your effort to get one and bring it with you. It's important to pay attention to sprinkler heads if you're changing the furniture around in the room. And there are definitely enough lofting kits for anyone that wants to use them. That's something that your student and their roommate should talk about ahead of time. The bed is already at its highest height at what we call captain's height, which does allow for a lot of storage underneath. And so if that's a good height, you don't need to change the bed. If you want it lower, then you would have to also reposition the mattress on the two bed ends using a rubber mallet. Great questions. What else do we have today?
There's an outstanding question about trash. What do we do after we unpack with our trash in the
Great.
building?
That's such a great question. So depending on the building, will depend on where the trash and recycling areas are for that building. Some buildings have a trash and recycle room right on the floor. Others is in one designated location in the building. For example, North Apartments has just one trash and recycling room for the whole building, and it's on the ground floor. Or there are definitely residence halls where your student would take the trash and recycling outside to the trash corral area outside the building. On move-in days, we also have designated cardboard areas outside of the residence halls so that our colleagues in waste management are able to come and scoop up all that cardboard and get it into the right stream to be recycled.
Someone's interested in knowing if they're unhappy with their room assignment. When does reassignment requests start?
Yes, there will be a room freeze. I believe it's the first 2 weeks of the semester so that the assignment office can report no-shows, have everything get settled. There will be late arrivals who will also check in. And so I believe the first assignment process to change your assignment, which I hope isn't the case, starts about the second week of the semester. The staff is so excellent. You all don't even have any questions for me because they're being answered so quickly behind the scenes. So let's see if there's anything else I can highlight in our presentation. Your students should make sure to bring their U-card with them. If they attended an in-person orientation, they would have received it at orientation if their photo had been submitted on time. The U-card office will be mailing to domestic addresses anyone who wasn't able to get their U-card at orientation because they either didn't come in person or the photo wasn't available for them to print it and have it ready. International students who are arriving, we will take possession, my team will take possession of U cards for international students and give them out at the residential service desks as they're being checked in, often as early arrivals on August 31st. And so you don't need to go to the U card office for that. We talked about the 1 car rule. Can't overemphasize that. There are definitely lots of reasons why a second car would come. I think move-in is the second most important part of your college career. Course commencement's number 1. So family members may want to come and be part of the experience. Just remember not to put a lot of belongings or any belongings in that second car because it won't be allowed up to the residence hall to unload.
John, can you talk about U cards? Someone's asking when domestic U cards will be mailed. I'm not sure if you happen to know that information, but also while we're there, international U cards and how do they get those?
Okay. International students will get their U card at the residential service desk if they're checking in as an early arrival, which most new international students do come for the orientation. And so they'll get it at the residential service desk. Students who are domestic addressed will receive their U card in the mail. And it came up in our last big meeting. I think it's very soon that they're being mailed. I think it's this week that they're going to be mailed. But if one of my team can go to the notes from our move-in meeting a few weeks ago, the U card office, Tom Mahaney from the U card office did tell us that date. I just don't remember it. But it's sometime soon because they give it a couple of weeks in the mail process to get to people, and they want the students to have them before it gets too close to actual move-in.
Can you share when is the first day that dining halls and meal plans are available?
The dining commons will be open through the end of the summer for students who are already here, but the meal plan for fall starts on August 31st, Monday, August 31st, early arrival day. Now they're just making it hard for me, Sarah. They're asking me questions about other areas.
Someone's interested in installing a bed canopy.
Okay, all right. I would want to make sure that there's not a fire hazard involved with that, meaning drapery and things. There are some restrictions around hanging cloth material up in the room. So take a look at those policies for residential life. And then I guess I've never heard of that in all my years. I've not heard of that. It's probably happened. I just don't know about it. But the bed posts are wooden. All the furniture in across campus and all of our residence halls is standardized. And so the beds are not different from hall to hall. Let's see if I can get us a picture. So this bed is at captain's height. And so there's so the bed end is a little bit lower than the mattress here, but then in the picture where the students bunked their beds, let's go to that. So there is opportunity because of the way the bed ends line up when a bed's been bunked, possibly there, pretty close to the ceiling. Remember, sprinkler heads. Pay attention to those sprinkler heads. There's hydration stations in all of the residence halls, sometimes more than one. So I would encourage your student to bring a couple of refillable water bottles. Single-user plastic water bottles are a menace to our environment. And so it would be better to have some refillable water bottles. And there's also hydration stations across campus in our academic and administrative buildings. There's laundry in every residence hall. In some cases, it's just one laundry room. In other cases, there may be multiple locations for washers and dryers. For example, in the towers in Southwest, there isn't just one laundry room. There's laundry rooms on different floors. one or two machines in each of those. There are banks of mailboxes in all of our residence halls, with the exception of the Honors College halls. Those mailboxes are in the administrative building where the service desk is located. There are combinations for getting your mailbox open. It's not as easy as you might think, so you may need to give it a couple of tries. There are video tutorials for the different types of mailbox combinations, depending on the building that your student will be living in. If your student is having trouble getting their letter mailbox open, that's where we would put letter mail, then they can go to their residential service desk and we will help them get that opened. And then we've already talked about the trash and recycling locations are different from hall to hall.
Don, do you want to share how much laundry costs this year?
So laundry is now embedded in the housing cost. And so students will be able to do laundry without having to use their U-Card or an app that they've put money on, or quarters. We stopped using quarters a couple of years ago. And so laundry is included in the housing fee this year for the first time ever. And so we're hoping that that will be easier for students, and also it will hopefully help with students overloading the laundry machines because they're trying to save money. And so laundry will be included in the housing fee, so you don't have to point of purchase at all for laundry anymore.
So that's it for any questions right now.
Okay. Oh, you know what? I didn't talk about the fans. I don't know how I forgot about the fans, because it's cool today. I think that's why. So today we're having a rainy day in Amherst, and it's not as hot as it can be here in the summer and early fall. And so I would encourage you to pack two fans, one that can be put in the window and one that can oscillate in the room. We only have two residential areas that have air conditioning installed in them. And North Apartments and the Commonwealth Honors College residential area are the only two areas on our campus where there is air conditioning. And so September can be hot. And so it'll be important that you have those fans packed. Oftentimes when families come to the area in this year, it'll be early September, fans are now out of season. And usually they've been replaced with Halloween decorations. And so it might be difficult to find a fan in the local area. So that's something that you want to pre-plan for. There will also be fans for sale at the New to You tag sale, but that's one of the fastest items to get bought up as well. So. We'll give it another second, Sarah, if there's any other questions. Like somebody just put one in there, I think. You don't need to bring trash and recycling bins. Those are issued as part of the room furniture, and there's one per each student. So your student will have a small trash bin and a small recycling bin. And we are a recycling campus, and so it'll be important that your student learn what gets recycled, and they put it in the appropriate receptacle in their trash and recycling room.
So Don, can a student or a family member go to the New to You tag sale and shop, or is it only students allowed?
I do not think they limit that. I think anybody can go to the New to You tag sale. And if you're here on Saturday, I encourage you to check it out. The New to You program, up until about a year and a half ago, didn't have a permanent location on our campus, and now they do. And they run a thrift store all year round. And so that the New to You tag sale will be held inside the thrift store and in a big tent outside. Hamden Commons is the name of the building, and that is located in Southwest residential area.
So after the fan conversation, there are a couple questions around looking for dimensions of windows and dimensions of suggested fans. Any thoughts on that?
I would say a traditional box fan is the right type of fan for your window. Those will be able to be set on the ledge or placed in front of the window to bring in cooler air in the evenings and at night. And then the oscillating fan, that's dealer's choice, really, right? I've seen small ones where students can clip them to the edge of the bed. I've seen standing oscillating fans. I think that's really just up to whoever's buying the fan.
Couple questions. Someone asked if they could bring their own air conditioner, and someone's asking if they can bring their own window shade.
So all the rooms in the residence halls have window shades for privacy. I guess if it was more like a window dressing, I've seen people do that, but you will not need to bring your own window shade. The rooms have them, and if there's anything not working properly about that window shade, please report that. We will send somebody out very quickly to address that. And then the answer about air conditioners and bringing your own is no, unless it's part of a medical accommodation that you've gone through the process to have the air conditioning unit installed. And that's something that we would do on your behalf. And in almost all cases, the air conditioning unit will be waiting for your student in the room ready to go at move-in if it's been part of a medical or disability accommodation. Great. Well, we took lots of questions there, and I can see there were tons of questions answered in the chat and in the Q&A. So I'm going to wrap us up for today. Thank you so much for joining our webinar. We appreciate that you took the time to learn about how fall move-in will work. If at any point you have additional questions, please email us at Residential Services or call us. Our phone number and our email address are on the screen now. Please take a look at our website. Lots of resources for you on the Living website. And you may be able to answer your own question, but we certainly are happy to hear from you as well if you don't want to do it that way. And so I want to thank my team who's been behind the scenes answering all your questions. They're amazing and awesome. They are the same people who will be moving you in about a month at this point of the summer. And so we look forward to seeing you at the end of August, early September, and hope you have a great day. Thanks for being with us today.